Bases dropped on a Wall Pass Wednesday edition of Soccer Down Here. If you guys have questions, you can send them our way. That's what we do on a Wednesday. It's a Wall Pass. You give us a question, we try to give you an answer. You tweet at us at Soccer Down Here. You send us an email, soccerdownhere@gmail.com, or you join us on the Twitch pitch, twitch.tv/soccerdownhere, and you put your questions in there. We'll take questions on anything today. There's all kinds of stuff going on. Tottenham is linked to every player in the world, especially the ones that Manchester United was previously linked to. Those are the ones that they like the most, so that's interesting. Barcelona has Luis Suarez hanging out, and they can't find anywhere to send him, and he's not part of the squad for today's friendly, and cue the drama. We've got Houston Dynamo watching Albert Ellis walk out the door, go to Portugal, and maybe somebody else coming in the door to follow behind him, potentially, possibly. We'll get you updated on that. We'll talk about Copa Libertadores last night. We'll get you set up for all of it. So, John, where do you want to start this morning?
Well, we'll just start at the top of the order. From early thoughts, Rich Ransom. He said he looked up the new athletic site, and he's now looking to see how the Peruvian dollar converts to the U.S. He said they have the Jordan 4s.
Do you know what that means?
I imagine that has to do with the Michael Jordan tennis shoe from years past. Which version and when this would have been put together, I have no idea.
The what exactly?
Jordan 4s.
No. What does this have to do with?
Because, you usually sit there and you think of Air Jordan, Max 3, that kind of stuff. I'm guessing that this is something that they decided to create on their own.
No, what'd you call them? The Michael Jordan what's?
The Jordan 4s?
No, you called them the Michael Jordan tennis shoes. That was good times.
Well then, no, they're not tennis shoes. They're basketball shoes.
Good times. Yes, they have knockoffs of everything. So whatever you're looking for a knockoff of, you might want to go look at New Athletic, the official branding supplier of our new favorite club, Binacional in Peru. It's coming off of a rough night. They lost 1-0. Didn't look so great. Always hurts when news breaks a few hours before kickoff that your leading scorer is going to be sold. Aldair Rodriguez is on the move to Colombia, so they had very little attack. They had a great chance at the very beginning of the game. If that isn't saved, it's a whole different match. But El Quito went into Peru and won. Santos drew scoreless with Olimpia. Game of the day was Jorge Wilstermann in Bolivia taking a 2-1 lead against Atlético Paranaense from Brazil. This was Wilstermann's first game since March. They ran out of gas and ended up losing 3-2. And then our good friend Carlos Carmona got the start for Colo-Colo. He went for the first 45. They were trailing at halftime 1-0 to Peñarol and came back in the second half to win 2-1. Whole bunch of Libertadores games today. You can watch them all on Fanatis or on BN Sports. If you need to get BN through Fanatis, fntz.co/soccerdownhere. You can sign up for the free trial. That benefits the show. You can sign up for a subscription. That benefits the show even more. And it's just a great service. I mean, I've had it, I think, going on 4 years now.
Oh, wow.
And it's where I watch a lot of South American soccer. Also, it's where I get BN Sports now. It's been really useful for me. They archive games, so I've loved it. That's why we're an affiliate with them, because we believe in the product. So if you're looking for a way to watch Libertadores tonight, that's how you can get set up.
We have juice boxes on that a little later on.
All right, we'll get into that.
I was going to ask how the bat signal went last night, but you pretty much broke down everything that happened in Libertadores last night.
Yeah, I mean, I just kind of watched Binacional and learned along with everybody else. So it was kind of fun to watch a team that I knew very little about, was very passionate about because of their logo. Because, I mean, look at those Pumas, for goodness sakes.
Stacked, packed, racked, and steroided out.
Okay. They were that, I guess. They were the Scott Steiner of Pumas and logos. And
Big Papa Puma.
They were not enough to win the match, but it was fun to learn about this team as we were going and watch a team try to figure it out on the fly. I mean, they were trying to play. They just weren't good enough to play against a pretty good LDU Quito team. Libertadores is interesting. I just love that the first game I was watching, Wilstermann and Paranaense, yellow card in 31 seconds.
Yes.
That's always fun. It was good times. Lots of games today. We'll get into all that later on. In the Asian Champions League, our also good friend, Pity Martinez, with an assist on his debut for Al Nassr. They get the win in that match. He went into the last 10 minutes of the match, came off as a sub, but it was a great debut for Pity Martinez, and the club was very, very happy about his debut.
Yeah, and it's good to see that immediate results for Al Nassr, and I am now officially on the clock to see how long it takes a shipment to come from Saudi Arabia to Office HD.
Yeah, we'll see how that goes with customs. Are you going to get on a list?
Probably. So let's see. It was a couple of scarves, a golf shirt, and their third jersey from last year that has it's the white one that has I want to say the blue and yellow dragons on it. So I picked that one up.
Okay. Yeah, I might look into a Pity jersey of some sort to see what they do associated with Pity specifically. Great performance from him in his debut over there. Ricky Ricardo in the Twitch pitch is shouting out the Oakland Roots. They have moved over to the USL Championship for next season. They've been a phenomenon in the lower divisions. They're in NISA currently, which is the third division alongside USL League One. They've been the success story of that league. I'm leaving Detroit City and Chattanooga FC out of that because they were success stories already. They were success stories coming out of the NPSL. Oakland Roots started in NISA and were a success story there. 5,000 crowds selling out their building. Great branding, great initiatives in the community. It's a good get for the USL Championship. It was a little fortuitous because there was a real estate developer, Mark Hall, who was trying to build a facility in the Bay Area. He had the rights to the franchise. He wasn't able to get it done. I think he got those rights in 2017. Wasn't able to get a deal done with the community that he was negotiating with, so the Roots acquired those territorial rights that Mark Hall had and were able to make that move pretty quickly. It's a good get for the USL Championship because you're getting another strong brand out in the West, which they've needed more and more of, and especially with Sacramento going into MLS here in a few years, you need another strong one. Oakland should be that.
Yeah, and if you didn't see their release video yesterday, go and look that up on their Twitter account. Very, very cool release from Oakland Roots about going into USL Championship. Very good stuff.
Yeah, on Tay say they're showing Pity's debut highlights and his assist, a free kick to the back post. Really nice free kick. He nearly had a free kick on goal before that, just over the bar. I like the idea of the Roots moving over, and Nisa's going to have to, bounce back. I think where I've said it before, I feel like Nisa should be looking at really becoming, and if they're listed as the third division, that's fine. They should be looking at it as a fourth division kind of scenario where they're taking those teams that are either new, like the Roots, that maybe need some time to grow. They can be an incubator of sorts. Or those teams that have outgrown the national amateur leagues like Chattanooga, like Detroit City, give them a place to play while they continue to grow. And they can be that in-between step between the amateurs / semi-pro and fully professional. It's a needed area in the American soccer landscape, and they can be that. And I hope that they take this not as a negative, but as a positive, and it's a selling point to new ownership groups of, hey, you're not able to jump straight into USL Championship in the second division level with those budgets and with those requirements that you have to have. Cool. Come here and grow and build. And if that's the right move down the road for you, great. It's great for us. It's just like a youth club that develops a player and they go on to a professional academy. That's not a bad thing. That's a good thing. That's a good thing, and NISA should look at this as a good thing. I hope that's how it's looked. I'm seeing that it's probably not going to be because of the territorial aspect of lower division American soccer, but NISA is not the USL Championship. And maybe they will be someday, but they're not right now. And for a club to start there, plant their roots there, so to speak, and then move on to the second division in USL, that's a good thing. That's an accomplishment. That's something that should be celebrated.
Yeah. So, like I said, just looking forward to seeing Oakland come into USL Championship and continue what they've built, continue the, it's the identity that they built, the history that they built around it, and now that they're heading into USL Championship, just looking forward to seeing it. And you mentioned the losing of Sacramento to MLS to maintain that Northern California footprint, especially in a top 10 media market. I think it's another big step too.
Yeah, as Chris Ashley points out too, their gear was featured in that latest season of Last Chance U. That's filmed at the stadium that they play at. So that's a little extra cross branding. That's a little cachet for USL now. It's a good move for everybody concerned, and we'll see how that goes down. Burn Dursberger with a question. Did they tell you guys what the contingency plans are for Atlanta United 2 tonight when we get 2 inches of rain? That field doesn't hold that much rain.
No.
It drains really well, and it drains fast. That part's good, but yes, it does need time to catch up. So I don't know. Looking at the weather, there's been some questions, and I guess we'll just have to see how fast this thing moves as to when we start getting it. I don't know. If it's rain and the field is playable, they'll play.
Yeah.
If it is lightning, they won't play. And if the field becomes unplayable, they won't play for a period of time. But that's going to depend on how the field drains and how much more rain is coming. So I don't know really what they could tell us. I mean, that's just kind of where it stands at this point. They're not going to want to have this game postponed and rescheduled because that's extra travel for Tampa Bay coming up here. It's an extra date for Atlanta United 2 in the stadium. It's extra costs for everybody concerned. They're going to want to get this game in one way or another. I don't know what Tampa Bay's travel plans are. I don't know if they were busing up or if they were flying up and flying back. If they're busing, they've got a whole lot more flexibility. But I don't believe they were planning on staying. Most USL teams are not. Although this is one of those trips where you would. I know I've seen Tampa Bay come up in a bus before this season. Yeah. I don't know if they were this time. So it's not as simple, and this came up with one of the Nashville-Dallas games that got delayed and started at like midnight. They weren't planning on staying, so I don't know if Tampa Bay was planning on staying tonight. If they are, you've got the flexibility potentially to play the thing in the morning, but I don't know if the rain's going to be much better then. If not, then you're going to wait it out, and with no fans in the building, it's probably going to give you more flexibility to play this thing later if you have to, but again, I don't know if the rain's going to allow that to happen either, if it just starts and keeps going.
Yeah.
So we'll just have to kind of wait and see how it plays out, but it's all down to lightning on if it gets postponed, and it's down to the field being playable. Those are the two things that come into play.
And we're anticipating rain and heavy rain coming here for today through tomorrow. And according to certain forecasters, they're saying that the rain is supposed to hit us in the next 45 minutes to an hour, and here for Wednesday and Thursday, and be gone by Friday.
Well, I mean, when you say the rain's going to hit us, like it's not at full bore in the next.
It's build. It'll build because of Sally working her way at 2 miles an hour. So it'll start, then it'll pick up, but it'll be consistent and then heavy at times. Some of the models are anywhere from 3 to 8 inches.
It's when it gets heavy is going to be the question as to what the field can handle. So we'll just have to wait and see. We got bots in the Twitch pitch, which is always fun.
Sweet. What are they actually? Are they get more follower bots or election bots or what?
Yeah, no, they're follower bots. You can go to bigfollows.com, John, and get all your follows that you might ever need.
Not so much.
Yeah, exactly. Chris Ashley says the unfortunate side of it, and is talking about the Oakland Roots situation, is that many of the fans of many NISA teams see USL/MLS as the enemy, and they want NISA to be the plucky upstart to take down the system. They do, and that's not going to happen. It's just not. You're talking about a league in NISA that is still figuring out what it's going to be. I mean, you're talking about a league that had Atlanta SC in it, and I didn't know when they were playing games. And I live here, and I work in Atlanta soccer. They're also a club that didn't pay their bills. We know firsthand from their previous experience. Philadelphia Fury. This is a club that was supposed to play their first game and travel, and they didn't, and then they went on hiatus. I mean, that's happened in this league at the very beginning. That's not a league that's going to take down any system just yet.
Yep.
I really do not like this idea of the enemy, because it's real. It's real. Lower division soccer wars are such a waste of time. For teams at this level, at NISA, at USL League One, at USL Championship, it's not about MLS hurting you. MLS is doing nothing to you. MLS doesn't negatively affect in any direct way the Greenville Triumph, Chattanooga FC, Detroit City, Union Omaha. Go down the road. There's no effect. The only effect that those teams get from it is positive, because there's MLS games on TV. There's MLS teams that are loaning players to you. There's MLS teams that are potentially bringing your players up. There is nothing bad. MLS is not hurting the lower divisions. The lower divisions have a hard enough road as it is to build a community club. The last thing they should be worried about is some big enemy that has nothing to do with you. Focus on doing what you do well, and you'll find your spot. That's it, because you're not going to become a sustainable club by railing about the enemy and throwing a bunch of hashtags out. You're going to become a sustainable club by building a community around what you do, putting out a good product, doing the right things to ensure sustainability, and moving forward. And then you'll fall where you fall. For some, that's going to be at a second division level. For some, that's going to be at a fourth division level. For some, it's not going to be professional. For others, it can be all the way up to, second division, pushing into potentially MLS level. It depends on the market. It depends on the ownership group. It depends on what you build. But this idea that there's something that's the enemy, look, I can tell you from firsthand experience what American soccer was like before MLS, and this is before the 10-team MLS when it launched in 1996. You didn't have games on TV. Well, you did if you could navigate the TV guide to find out when they were being replayed, because most of them were on tape delay. And if you had a local channel that would actually pick them up. Atlanta did sometimes. You went to your professional games in a high school stadium that had a giant crown on it that was about 60 yards wide. You played in a league that had a team fold after the tickets were printed. So you had to recycle those because you didn't want to waste them. You had players coming and going, just all the time. You had teams coming and going pretty frequently. That's what it was. That's not good. That's not where you want to be. MLS has done good things for the game in this country. There's no way to deny it, and anybody who tries to argue that is coming with a narrative that they're trying to portray. And they don't need to waste their time on it. That's the frustrating thing. If they are that passionate and they are that intense about building a great brand, put that energy towards doing something good. Trying to take down something that has nothing to do with you is a waste of time. Build up what you got. Build up your club. Oakland Roots decided from a business perspective that it was a better move to move to the USL Championship than NISA. They're a brand, they're a business that can handle that move because it brings more cost, it brings more expectation, it brings more requirements. They can do that. There's others in that league that can't, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that either, any which way. So, should they be held back? And this is where things get weird to me, because if NISA fans are going to be mad about the Oakland Roots going to USL Championship, should NPSL fans be mad about Chattanooga FC and Detroit City going to NISA? Because it's the same thing. Mm-hmm. They outgrew where they were, and they had an opportunity to move up. And yes, it's due to business. That's how soccer's organized in this country. It's so you don't have a Macclesfield town right now being wound up in the courts. You don't have that right now. Oakland Roots are moving up because they can afford to. That's what it is right now. Until you get everybody on stable footing, and as we see, even that's not necessarily a guarantee that you don't have clubs go belly up. This is what it is. But NPSL put a lot of resources into Chattanooga FC being a success. They gave them a lot of credit. They gave them a lot of publicity. They gave them a lot of opportunities to stand on the big stage. And Chattanooga moved to NISA. And that's fine. They outgrew where they were. They needed a year-round professional program, not an amateur program, not a summer, you want to call it semi-pro, go ahead, program. Detroit City, same thing. They didn't abandon NPSL, and NISA's not the bad guys to NPSL. Those clubs outgrew where they were. They found a better fit. Oakland has found a better fit. It's not about the big enemy. There's so many things that can be done to grow the game at the grassroots that are vital. Focus on that. If that's your passion, focus on that. You're not going to get anywhere by tearing something else down. You're going to build your club up by putting on a good product and doing good business, period. Dragging something else down to where you are doesn't benefit anybody. Build yourself up and take your league with it. Right now, I think NISA is essentially a fourth division. Can they be more? Absolutely. Build it. Nothing's stopping you right now outside of doing it. You've got the certification. You're recognized by U.S. Soccer. You're getting professional referees. Do it. There's nothing stopping you. This idea that things are, no, we can't do it because of this. No, just do what you're doing. Just because it has a D3 tag on it doesn't mean you can't draw 40,000 people. Do it. Do it. And stop trying to drag everything else down. And stop fighting. Just build up what you have. Chattanooga is an amazing brand. Chattanooga FC's done amazing work for the game in their area. Celebrate it. Stop fighting things around you. Detroit City. Celebrate what you're doing. You had a crowdfunding program. People bought shares of the club. It's amazing stuff. That's great. Now build your league. Stop looking at something else and saying, well, now we got to fight everybody. Oakland made a decision for Oakland. Look at the travel they're going to have now that's different. Yeah. I mean, they have to make decisions for themselves. And they did. Celebrate the fact that they got their start with you and build the next one.
That's the thing, is that do what's best for you as a club, wherever that is. Build your community that's a part of your fabric. And just because someone next to you, someone associated with you that might be in your same league, is doing something in one place, do what's best for you. Don't look at somebody else and sit there and say, well, obviously they're not a part of the collective and whatever they're doing, it's not good for this league and whatever. Focus on what's good for you. Focus on building what's good in your community, because then that way everything grows in each and every community where you have all of these different leagues and all these different teams, regardless of level, regardless of size, and you get to build the future by doing something positive instead of sitting there and looking at, what the success or whatever you want to call it of another team and sitting there saying, well, they left our league, therefore they're wrong. No, they're just different. Let them do their thing. You do your thing. Don't get wrapped up in the business of someone else. Build the successes for yourself. Let that other group build the successes their way. You build yours your way. Everyone benefits.
Chris Ashley said, I would say that MLS, particularly Atlanta's early growth and success, has helped the Greenville Triumph to find its footing in the community early on. I think Charlotte coming into MLS will also benefit the growth of the Triumph. I agree. I agree. And I think there's a little bit of the mentality, and I don't know, maybe it's because of looking at other places around the world which don't have that much in common with the way soccer's developed here. It just isn't. But looking at it and saying, like, oh, well, a small team can make it to the first division. In American sports, that's not happening very often. if ever. I mean, Green Bay is the prime example, and that would never happen today. Greenville's not going to be an MLS market. That's okay. They can have a great program. They can have a great team. They can have nearby MLS teams. But they can be great on their own. And it's not a minor league baseball situation. It's not where you are, the baby club to somebody else and just getting whoever they want to send you and whatever. No, you're your own thing. You're just at a lower level. And you're going to have the Open Cup, and that's why the Open Cup becomes so important to me, is that's where Greenville can play Charlotte in a match that means something and knock them off once or twice out of 10 years and have something to celebrate, have something special for what that club is building. Those are the good things. I feel like American soccer wastes so much time fighting things that it doesn't actually do anything. And it's got to stop. Whether it's, we want pro rel because everybody else has it, or, we want this league to be the best because they're authentic and these other leagues are plastic, and just do what you're doing and do it really well, because that's always going to work better. And then you'll find your level. That's it. I mean, I don't know. I've never understood the idea that if Oakland Roots have done an amazing job and they have the ability to move up to a bigger level, a bigger business, a bigger platform, and in some ways maybe save money on travel, but they'll be able to be bigger than they were. That's never a bad thing. That's a good thing. It's like saying that I don't want my favorite band to get played on the radio because I don't want to share them with everybody. No. I want them to be able to eat better. I want them to be successful. I don't get it. We'll see. All right. Lots of rain talk. Flash flood warning starting at 2 o'clock, according to Ricky Ricardo. That is no bueno. Ragamuffin says tearing things down is more fun. And yeah, for some it is.
It is, yeah.
It is. It's easier to write an angry song or a sad song than to do a happy song or an inspirational song. I get it. Still don't like it. And I'll still fight about it the whole time because that's what I want to tear down. I want to tear down people tearing things down. How about that?
There you go.
That's my mood here today. Big Ten football is returning as well, which is ridiculous.
Yeah.
The way that whole thing was handled was ridiculous. And now the Pac-12, and now it's a competition between the Big Ten, the Pac-12, the Scottish, the SPFL. That's probably it. That's the competition for the worst run league right now.
So is Kevin Warren Neil Doncaster?
I guess. I don't know if he has email problems. I don't know. It's messed up. It is intra-league squabbles down here, Mazzano. That is absolutely true. Uncle No Pockets hanging out with us from Portland, from Oregon, doing good. City's covered in smoke, but he's been able to go back to work, so everything is bueno. Hasn't had to evacuate. Glad you were here with us, Unc, and glad you're safe.
Yes.
There are network problems with Twitch, and I have no idea why. Some people are having them, some people aren't. We're overblowing the Twitch circuits, I guess, is where we're at these days, because you guys are so good. That's not good, because we need better circuits.
Well, larger circuits and better circuits. It's good that we're pushing the limits of Twitch.tv.
Well, we don't have control over Twitch's circuits, so we're not going to get those. But we'll keep building what we're doing here, and we'll try to draw more. And we're not going to complain about other people drawing more viewers than us. We're just going to do our thing. Bern Dursberger said, did you guys ever discuss the thread from Toodle Rockman on why there are so few transfers from USL to MLS when compared to other countries? I don't remember that one. I might have missed it, Bern. It's a thing. It's absolutely a thing. But this past year, it felt like there were more than usual. I guess it's twofold, and this is me off the top of my head looking at it. USL teams generally aren't bringing in a lot. Now, they're starting to, and I'm talking the independent teams, not the two teams. They're not bringing in a lot of 17, 18, 19-year-olds. They're generally, their rosters are more often than not like 25, 26, 27-year-olds who spent a little bit of time in MLS or came out of college and didn't get an MLS opportunity and have stuck in the USL. There's not many that are developing the young players that I think MLS would want to buy. Now, I've always felt like, and it's not going to happen a ton, but I feel like it should from time to time, when you've got an injury at center back or right back or whatever, and you're looking for somebody who can step in now, there are players at the USL Championship level who can step in and you can go get, and they can be that veteran to come in and hit the ground running and be fine. I feel like that's an area where MLS needs to look at USL Championship a little bit more. Now they're going to have to pay for those players, and you have to make that decision. Is it better to pay whatever that club wants? Because to the USL club, that player is probably significant and very, very important to their success. And for the MLS club, they're a stopgap. So are you going to be able to find a price that makes sense for both sides? I don't know. It's going to be hard. But when USL clubs, and we're slowly starting to see it, start to invest in developing talent, you're going to see more of those transfers, in my opinion. Burns said he did a thread, and then a whole podcast was scuffed. The problem is the way MLS counts transfer fees against the cap, in his opinion, the roster rule situation. I agree with that, and I don't know. I would be fine if they got rid of the transfer fee being part of the cap hit, or maybe it's capped at a certain point if you want it to affect it. If you don't want to be in the situation of clubs spending crazy transfer fees for players that are not going to be making a whole lot of money, which when you sign guys who are 18, 17 out of South America, they're not making much money in salary to begin with. This is something I don't think people understand is, Eric Lopez, for example, he was not on a six-figure deal at Olympia. No way. So for him to go even up to a $100,000 deal here, it's a massive raise. Now the transfer fee is going to bump him up, and that's the part that I think Tootle and Byrne are talking about in the Scuffed podcast we're talking about. That affects his cap hit. Can we figure out a better way to navigate that? Or do we want to even deal with that? Because if Atlanta, for example, wants to spend that on the player, and they're going to spend a salary, and a salary is going to hit the cap, but they want to spend that much to bring the player in, should we have an issue with it? Because they're obviously, they can afford it, and two, they're probably expecting to make that back plus more in a later transfer. So why should it hit the cap? I don't have a problem if it doesn't. I have no problem if it doesn't at all. I'm fine with the cap existing. But yeah, if you take the transfer fees out of it, I don't have a big problem. I can see the benefits to doing that. Obviously, it would definitely incentivize teams to sign more players and at differing kinds of rates. Like we talked about with that 27-year-old right back who's doing really well in USL Championship, and you have two right backs get injured and you're stuck in MLS, and you need somebody to come in who can play and play immediately. Go get this veteran guy from USL Championship. He's got 150 games under his belt over the last 5 years. Awesome. Go get him. Well, he's our best player. We need, $2.5 million. What, are you crazy? We're not paying that. But if you do what this is talking about, then yeah, it's saying, well, we've got the money to spend. We can take his salary on. We'll give him a raise to make it worth it for her coming over. We can fit that under the cap. Cool. It would incentivize those kinds of moves in a big way. It would create more separation from teams because teams that can spend more money on transfer fees will have an advantage. That's a decision for the MLS Board of Governors to make. They're already edging that way. I mean, you add this youth designated player situation, you're already going to be able to spend more money if you want to. Designated players started that road. Then adding more of them. Then adding the discretionary TAM. Then adding the youth designated player situation that's supposed to be coming in next year. Well, you're already going down that road. So would this be good or bad for the league to take transfer fees out of the cap equation? I think there's a lot of benefits to a lot of different aspects of the game. But it will create more separation. There's no way around that, because if that scenario, that right back injury comes up, you need to go sign somebody, you want to go sign the best right back in the USL Championship, and you are the Houston Dynamo versus Inter Miami. Inter Miami will say, cut the check. Houston Dynamo, man, we can't afford that. So then they have to go look elsewhere. But maybe they go find the second or third best right back in the league and spend less. It all depends on how much you want to regulate parity. It's going to be interesting. Burns says, and talking about two players who've done really well for Atlanta United too, Mackie Jope and Jack Kerr. And he said somebody could buy them if they can't crack the first team lineup. And absolutely. Mm-hmm. If, because this happens. You see players come through at, Real Madrid Castilla or Barca B, and they get to that point. If you're a top young false 9, number 10 kind of player at Barcelona in the last 15 years, you're not cracking that lineup. Mm-hmm. There's a guy who's really good in front of you. So you develop that player up. They get to that point. Well, we have nowhere to play him. Let's sell him. Cool. Atlanta United too. And yes, your second team should be allowed to do this just the same. You have Jack Kerr. You make the decision, we've got Brooks Lennon, we've got Franco Escobar in that position. We like Jack Kerr, but if we call him up, he's not going to play. Somebody's offering us, $1.5 or $2 million. Okay, let's do it. Mackie Jobe, hey, they decide they want to move him on. Okay, do it. It would create revenue. Bernd is right. It would create a nice source of revenue for USL teams. It's a move that I think will happen. I just don't know how fast. Because I do think you're going to get to the point where the cap is going to be more like an NBA kind of cap. Because the NFL, correct me if I'm wrong, the NFL is a hard cap. Mm-hmm. Jerry Jones can't go spend more because he's Jerry Jones.
You can, but you pay luxury tax on top.
In the NFL, is that accurate?
I'll double check it.
I don't think you can. In the NBA, you can. In the NBA, you absolutely can, and that's why you see a smaller number of teams at the top. I think the NFL is a hard cap. I think that's the one that is the hard cap.
Yeah, hard cap.
Okay, that's what I thought.
No team allowed to exceed the cap limit for any reason.
Yeah, so you are what you are. That is as limiting as you're going to get because they're making money hand over fist. Everybody's fine. NBA, you can go into a luxury tax situation. I believe Major League Baseball, you can do the same. I don't know about the National Hockey League. It's probably something in where those other two. I think you're going to get to an NBA kind of situation where there's a cap. There needs to be a floor in spending. There also needs to be teams who want to have more ambition and spend more. Do it. And if that becomes a luxury tax situation, if it's a luxury tax on how much you're spending on transfers, if that's your way to limit it less, fine. You put it into the kitty and it gets divided up among the other teams. Whatever you want to do, figure that out so you are doing the balancing act, because that's what all of this is. It's what it is for the NBA. It's what it is for every league in the United States, because they don't want the Bundesliga with Bayern Munich. You can already write them in. You can probably stencil the name on the trophy. They don't want one or two teams in Spain winning every year. They don't want Juventus. They want every fan base to feel like they have a shot going into the season. That was why baseball was excited about this crazy year that they've had, because it was such a short season. Everybody's got a shot to get hot. Anybody can win. Well, not really, but anyway. NFL, you have all the different rules in there. You have that hard cap because you want everybody to buy those tickets, to watch those games, and feel like they got a shot to win. MLS wants that too. But they also need to strike the balance that I think the NBA has done a pretty good job of, with giving lesser ownership groups, lesser teams, an opportunity to get better. You don't have an NBA draft kind of scenario in MLS, so you're going to have to find another way. But also not holding back groups that have that ambition. And there's some kind of limit to the top of it. I mean, I know you can go into a luxury tax threshold, but you can't just literally spend whatever you want. There are ways that limit you. MLS can do that. I think they can model it. But that to me is the model as we're rambling trying to solve salary cap issues. That's the way to go for me. where you're finding a balance between big spenders just outspending everybody and winning the league, because the more you spend, the more likely you are to win. It's that simple. Read anything you want on it. If you spend more, you're more likely to win. You're not guaranteed to win. You're more likely to win. A Leicester will happen occasionally. Once in the Premier League's history. Once. But it will happen occasionally. It will. The great team that spent all the money will misspend it and have a bad year. That happens too. River Plate got relegated. It happens. But do we want to hold teams back at the expense of them growing and pushing the league forward? Do we want to hold the league back to the lesser teams, or do we want to bring the lesser teams further along with the teams that have the ambition? I'll take the latter and figure out the mechanisms to do that. This would be one of those areas where it would affect it, and it would affect those lower division teams. And who's to say? And this is, again, going back to the lower division soccer wars with a Z. This goes back to that. If you want to do something different, if you are, Chattanooga FC and you want to be a community club, bring up your 17 and 18-year-olds. Your 18-year-old kid who doesn't want to go play in college, and you can sign him to a pro deal. He's not going to get rich, but you can bring him on a pro deal. You play him. He gets that experience. Atlanta United sees him, comes calling, says, you know what? We'll pay you $1 million. We'll pay him 1.5. And that's most of your budget for the next season. That's what happens. But those lower division teams, you find one player every few years. That's it. That's what you can do. And all of this would incentivize that. So it's an interesting. Go ahead.
No, just National Hockey League has a ceiling and a floor for a hard cap. Yeah, hard cap ceiling, and they have a floor, so they have a minimum that you can spend.
They have a hard cap, so you can't go over it no matter what. There's no luxury tax or anything.
Nope.
Okay, well, I don't like
NBA's their luxury tax, the tax revenues, if you go over the tax line, tax revenues are normally redistributed among non-tax paying teams. So there's an incentive for owners not to pay the luxury tax.
Well, yeah, because they don't want to pay it. I mean, no. Yes, but it's redistributed. That's the whole idea. They're not going to not pay it because they don't want the Dallas Mavericks to get a little bit of extra money. They don't want to pay it because they don't want to pay the money.
Yeah.
But if they want to put the right team on the field, they will pay it, and we see teams do that. That's the avenue I think MLS should find a way to do. And you got to add transfer fees into the equation somewhere, somehow. And it can be done. There are smart people who can figure this out. Get Tudor Rockmont on it, because that guy knows how to manage these numbers and make it all work. Get his input. Get some input from directors of football around the world who have an understanding of the American system. Not somebody who's never been in it, but somebody who understands all of the specific issues that affect it. And let's push forward. That next CBA needs to look more like an NBA CBA. It really does, because that can push the league forward in a big way. Mezzano says, when I said can create more separation, talking about top teams and medium or lower teams, he said, does that incentivize the other teams that fall behind to operate differently and therefore raise the whole level of the league upwards? It should. I do think you can create a luxury tax redistribution kind of situation, and that will benefit the smaller teams that don't have the same resources. I'm fine with that. But it should incentivize them to develop from within, because that's what teams in the situation do worldwide. It's if they can't go out and spend $100 million on a transfer fee, they try to develop their own. Now, it's not an exact science. It's not easy. It'll be very difficult. But that's a lower level of investment for a wider catch. We'll see if it happens. That's what should happen. Now then the risk becomes you get stuck into that scenario. You don't bring a group of players together that can raise you up. You get one, they get bought off, you get the money in, you reinvest, you just keep selling one player here, one player there. But that's a way to have a sustainable business. And in MLS, you're going to have some limitations from everybody pulling away. So it's not going to be where you are, Alaves in Spain and looking at it like we're never going to win the league. If you wake up as a 10-year-old and you decide this is the day I'm going to pick a team to support for the rest of my life, and your family are Alaves fans, and you say, okay, I must be an Alaves fan. You also have to realize you're never going to win the league. Never. You're probably not going to win a cup. That's what it is. Is that a good thing to be? I don't think it is. But I also grew up here where even as bad as the Falcons and Braves were in the 80s, there was that belief that maybe they can turn it around. They have one season where they get into the playoffs. Oh, look. And then the Braves go on their run. The Falcons get to a Super Bowl twice. These things can happen in American sport. That's good. I think that's better. That's my opinion. That's better. How can MLS find a middle ground between what clubs do around the world and the cap and restrictions here to increase parity? That's the task. Instead of holding the league back using the cap, how can you grow the league using the cap and the idea of parity? That needs to be the conversation. And I hope that is for the next one. I hope people are talking about it now for the next one. Don't wait. Look at the NBA and find the way that you can model it. And you can get what Mezzano's saying with some teams who, like Philadelphia, they've invested a ton in their academy. They're never going to be a massive spender on the transfer market, but they'll spend. They'll spend a little bit. But they'll spend more if they develop players that they sell and bring in those resources. And you can create even bigger incentives for that if you want to. They get increased cap space. Like they get to keep all of the transfer fee right now, but they get to put even more towards their cap for the next year or whatever. Figure it out. You're creating the rules on the fly. So figure them out to benefit the league and to grow it. Byrne talking about, I'm assuming the scenario that we were going through with you need a right back to step in tomorrow. It's less risky to buy the 27-year-old playing for Tampa Bay than it is to buy the 18-year-old playing at Estudiantes in Argentina. It's quicker, one. It's less risk because it's a seasoned veteran. And it's somebody who's going to come a few hours away and be able to play for you the next day. It definitely would be that. And as we're seeing this year where leagues are starting to look more at domestic transfer windows and situations, open it up more. I mean, create a roster deadline like you need to, but open it up where in that middle phase of the season before when the early window closes and before the summer window opens, allow teams to make domestic moves. Fine with that. Because then that would incentivize us as well. If you have an injury at that time, you can't wait till the transfer window opens. We need a center back tomorrow. Hey, Forrest Lasso's at Tampa Bay. He's had a little bit of time in MLS. He's the best one we think fits our system. Tampa Bay, we're going to give you $500,000 plus X amount if he plays in 20 games, plus et cetera, because you can get him tomorrow. You get him outside the window, but it's domestic. Do that. That's another way to do it. Use these ideas of parity and these restrictions to grow the league, not to hold it back. Don't make them restrictions. Use them as ways to grow it, but still maintain parity to whatever degree you can. I think MLS fans are okay with the idea of super clubs and some clubs being bigger than others. As we see in Atlanta and LAFC this year, it's not a guarantee. It doesn't mean you're going to win everything just because you are who you are. You have more resources to work with. You shouldn't be held back from making your team as good as it can possibly be. But you don't want it to pull so far away from the other teams that the competition isn't compelling. That's the dance you got to do. That's the dance, and it's a hard one. But MLS has the opportunity to create a pathway forward with it that could be better than what other leagues are doing around the world. I mean, La Liga's got some kind of a cap or limit to what they can do because Barcelona's running into it right now. They can't bring in another forward until they sell Luis Suarez. And he can't get his Italian citizenship, so it looks like the Juve deal is off. And they're stuck. You've got teams. Real Madrid's moved players on. It looks like they're going to move a couple more to Tottenham. But they've moved players on so they can do things. Would La Liga look at MLS with their NBA kind of CBA, cap rules, what have you, that I think they should start moving towards and say, man, we could do more and promote more by doing it that way. Let's look at how we can get to that. And it would be a process, but let's look at that from where we are now, which feels like a kind of weird system. But MLS has an opportunity to do something that is unique. They shouldn't look at, we have to do what we've always done, or we have to do just what leagues around the world do. No, find what works for you. And I think it's an NBA-style setup.
Chris Ashley is in on this side as well, in addition to being on the Twitch pitch.
He's everywhere.
He is. And he said he was doing some early checking on the weekend juice boxes. And the numbers started out.
When did he tweet this?
But I'm updating his numbers.
Okay, thank you. I'm making sure you're following along. Go ahead.
Yes, I'm updating his numbers because I looked at his initial numbers and I was like, whoa, dude.
Because he tweeted that a while ago.
Yeah. So initially, and here's how things can change when you see numbers like this. Initially, Nashville was a plus 908 to win over Columbus. The draw was at plus 500. That has gone down, and it is now Columbus at minus 156. The draw is plus 266, and Nashville's a plus 479 to win in Columbus this weekend.
I don't hate those numbers for Nashville. I don't hate them. Going back to parity, Mike Conti will be joining us here in about 5 minutes. Burns said, I think there's too much parity in MLS. The playoffs provide parity, same as Champions League. You never know who wins UCL in any given year. Yeah, but it's a small number. The playoffs do provide parity. And a single-game playoff like MLS has now is the ultimate parity because anything can happen. But for me, that's not the parity you're looking for as much. I think you want more of the regular season to have that anything can happen feel. I would go with this NBA idea with trying to find parity, which doesn't always have it. I mean, you have bad teams in the NBA that have been bad teams for a long period of time, whether they have no luck with the ping pong balls or they just make bad signings. Like, you can create a system that tries to ensure parity, and you still got dummies running teams.
Yeah,
there's just no way around that. But you're giving them an opportunity to try to catch up. I would have that to where the regular season feels like it can have more parity. But I would also have 2-leg playoffs across the board because I want the best team in my system to win the title. I don't want it to come down to one random game and one random injury or one random red card or one bad call or whatever to end the season. I want the best team in the system to win the title. So I would go 2 legs across everything in the postseason. And I know that makes me weird in that way, but you can find a way to have some parity. I don't think you want to go completely no worries about parity. I don't think that helps the game in this country. Because, like I said about the kid who grows up as the Alaves fan, if you're a kid here in, who's been a bad team? Chicago. Chicago's been a bad team for a decade. If are you going to get engaged with pro soccer in this country if you're a soccer fan in Chicago and your team's been terrible? No, you're probably not. Mm-hmm. And that's not good. You want them to feel like they can catch up. Now, again, they have to hire the right people. They have to do the right things. They've had opportunities to do that right now, and they haven't, and that's been on them. But I don't think you want to make it impossible for them to compete. I don't think that grows the game here. So you want to find that balance. You want to find the in-between. And for me, it's some form of incorporating the NBA side of it. I do like the idea about the transfer money being pulled out of the cap, and if it's judged in a different way or it's taxed in a different way, whatever, you figure out a way to make that work. But it shouldn't hit the cap because you should be incentivized to go spend on transfer fees for players that are not making huge salaries that will become assets for your club that you can sell later on. That's just good business. So you don't want to limit that. Putting it into the cap limits that. So that one makes total sense to me. All right. Lots of different stuff as we go through to catch it up here. Mezzano, would you split the MLS into 2 tables or utilize USL as the lower table? What USL team would win regularly against MLS teams? I think once you get to 32 in MLS, then you got to make a decision. on if you want to create a second division format or not. I think MLS would probably do it all themselves. It's the same business. That's the biggest thing. I mean, yes, it's first division, second division, but in terms of the business, USL has nothing to do with MLS except being a partner. So you're not going to do that unless you're going to buy them, which you could, but you're going to incorporate it one way or another. If MLS does that, it would be after they get to 32, they'd make the decision to go down that road, and they'd figure out the formatting to do it, and there would be an MLS 1 and 2, in my opinion, because I don't think it makes sense to have it as outside control for MLS. Why would people have paid so much money to buy into the league if that was the case? It's got to all be in-house. If it's all in-house, then everybody who's part of MLS shares in the revenues, shares the losses, so you don't have anybody getting slaughtered on losses, but also shares in the Soccer United marketing revenues as well, which is another big aspect of this. So it's all got to be in-house for sure. But if you buy a certain number of USL Championship teams, if you buy that league, if you buy that brand, that's a whole different conversation. But they're not going to say, okay, we'll just make them our second division and they can promote teams up and that's great. I don't think that happens because it's two different businesses. Matt Wagner said, Eric Lopez now wearing the number 16 number. Could we see him soon? He's got a number training, so I didn't expect that. Don't know how it goes down because, I mean, just again, from roster rules, like you've got one international slot open, you've got 2 supplemental spots open, which I don't think he would fit into, and you've got 1 senior roster spot open. You've got Eric Lopez now with training with a number, and you've got Marcelino Moreno now reportedly on deck to join the team imminently. You don't have the roster space. Unless somehow you can fit Lopez into a supplemental spot, which, I don't know, maybe you can. Maybe you can find a way to do that for this year, and then he goes into a different slot for next year. I don't think that's the case, and that's from some of the comments that were made about it being a salary cap issue, because the supplemental spots are a whole different conversation. So I don't know. But if he's got a number, I think it's a safe assumption that, yeah, he would potentially be joining the team here soon. Or he's just training with the number because that's the number he'll wear next year, and that's it. Don't know. Do know. We shall see. But Pacine says at least temporarily Pitti leaving would free up a slot, but then you couldn't add Marcelino Moreno. So, and that sounds like it's pretty much done. So which way are you going to go? I don't know. I don't know the answers to that. All right. You need to tell us about our good friend Steve Apolinsky in Decatur, GA, and go.
I can do that. Apolinsky & Associates, LLC, proud supporters of everything soccer down here in the SDH network. Over 30 years of experience, over $40 million in judgments for their clients for wrongful death and serious injury suits in Georgia and Alabama. If this is a discussion that you need to have, Apolinsky & Associates is the firm to do it with. How do you do it? A couple different ways. Shoot Steve an email yourself, STEVE, at aa-legal.com. You can get a free consultation by giving them a call at 404-377-9191. Or go to the website, aa-legal.com, hit enter, return, the arrow button, whatever device you're using to move the screen forward. aa-legal.com pop-up window pops up low right-hand corner because that's what they do. They pop up 24/7, 365 and a quarter. You can get those free consultations that way as well. Have a chat right that very second to get all your answers taken care of. Recognized as Legal Elite by Georgia Trend Magazine for one of the top 100 firms in this here state of Georgia for what they do when it comes to wrongful death and serious injury matters. The website, aa-legal.com.
I think you timed that one pretty good.
That was close. I was worried there for a second.
You slowed down, though. You managed it.
Yeah. So I was trying to figure out what in the wide world of sports I was going to do. It's like, okay, do I stretch? Do I slow down? How am I going to try to make this fit?
You handled it pretty well.
That's one.
No, you're pretty good with that. I mean, it's 50-50. Like, sometimes it's a longer gap there where you do the very...
Summerall-esque.
Yeah, it's beyond it. Like, sometimes it's Summerall-esque. Sometimes it's like, did the connection drop? But no, that one was good. That was good stuff. All right, let's see if Steve Areno, our virtual producer, can get this done.
Steve Areno.
Steve Areno's trying to get Mike Conti on the line. John will go blurry-faced, but he's not pulling a Bruce Arena. We think. He might. It's been known to happen.
Uh-huh.
And we will find out if Steve Areno can do the job. He can. What's up, Mike?
What's going on, guys? How are you?
All right.
We're doing good. We are talking all kinds of madness this morning. What's up in your world?
Well, I'm happy. The Big Ten just announced they're going to restore football, so I'm pretty pumped up.
That was the first
obviously.
question in the board on the Twitch pitch.
Yeah, not soccer related, obviously. Although, I don't know if this means all fall sports. I mean, Big Ten does have pretty robust men's and women's soccer, obviously. So I don't know. I don't know what the status is for that, but it's good news. It's good news for Penn State fans like me, but not topical to your program, so we don't have to drone.
But it's a wall pass Wednesday, Mike. I mean, come on.
It is, and it saves us a couple minutes from having to talk about the realities of what's going on with the teams that we cover right now. So in that sense, I guess stalling for time is good.
Well, I've got another one for both of you when it comes to Walpassian Wednesday questions, if we're going to go down that road.
Okay.
And I was going to start off by asking about reverse searing, but I'm going to hold that.
John, you don't even salt your food.
No, I don't.
Like it's not that you don't even season your food; you don't even salt your food. So, why don't we take baby steps before we have the reverse searing conversation?
Because I had no idea
I say
what
that
the wide world of sports that was.
Well, I say that, John, with just the most admiration and respect for you. You know how much I love you, but
yeah,
let my friendly advice would be you might not want to tackle. And it's not like
this had nothing to do with wanting to tackle it. I was just wondering what the God name it was.
Oh, okay. Well, basically, what you do is you have a grill, right? Or are you anti-grill?
I have a grill that we do grill. Yes.
No, the world is anti-John grilling because he might burn the place down.
Yeah,
and my hair, which I've done before.
Yes.
Well, basically, you grill your steak on low, so it goes to just the barest of rare, not raw. And then, you take the steak off, you crank it up to nuclear, you put it on 3 Mile Island, and then you quickly sear it on both sides. So usually, the easy way to do it is sear it first and then, let it cook kind of inside out. This is a way of cooking it. Well, actually, no, outside in. This is a way of cooking it inside out, basically. It makes it more juicy. Okay. You've cooked it to rare. You sear it to get it to medium rare, medium. But everything's just so much juicier that way.
Because, I was just wondering what the concept was, not necessarily that I was going to run out back and do it.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think, the first thing you'll probably want to try is, purchasing some Morton salt and some, Kroger pepper. And, just, pinch here and there and see how you like your steak that way. And then if you like it that way, then, we can introduce some kind of, side dish, whether it be, potatoes or mushrooms or something like that. And we'll just kind of climb the ladder till we get to, actually grilling your steak and then, maybe grilling it to a different temperature. And then we can do the reverse sear. So in another year or two, I think we'll be there, right?
Yeah, it's all in the pacing. But no, this was my question before I got into reverse searing. Oh, of course. Yeah.
What is going on?
I'm just laughing hysterically at this.
All right. So Tafka had a question for the floor.
Okay.
Serious question from Tafka. Is How I Met Your Mother the reason we have Cobra Kai, the TV series? They brought Zabka and Machio back in its last season with great success.
I guess
it goes back further than that, though. I did some research.
Oh, okay. Because I didn't watch How I Met Your Mother, so I couldn't tell you how much credit they get.
Back in season 4, Neil Patrick Harris's character Barney was trying to explain Karate Kid to everyone else on the cast. And here was his quote. It's the story of a hopeful young karate enthusiast whose dreams and moxie take him all the way to the All-Valley Karate Championship. Of course, sadly, he loses in the final round to that nerd kid, but he learns an important lesson about gracefully accepting defeat. And then one of the other characters asks Neil Patrick Harris if, when you watch the movie, he roots for that mean blonde boy instead of Ralph Macchio, and he goes, "No, I root for the scrawny loser from New Jersey who barely even knows karate."
Man.
Jeez.
And then there was some appearances by Zapka in like the last season of the show as well. But the question from Tafka was this: the genesis for Cobra Kai, the TV series.
I guess it has to be, right? I mean, no offense to Billy Zabka's career, because he's had an amazing resurgence, but it's not like he was on the radar before that. I don't think Karate Kid was on the radar before that. Macchio wasn't really on the radar before that, I don't think. So, yes, they get credit. I haven't seen Cobra Kai yet. I need to.
This is foreign language to me, guys. I cannot really contribute much to this, but if you'd like a good recipe for lemon pepper seasoning, I'm all about it.
I've not gotten into the Cobra Kai craze yet.
Season 1 was amazing. And we're getting ready for season 3, and apparently there's an outside chance that Elizabeth Shue comes back for season 3, and he goes to Okinawa, and the villain from Karate Kid Part 2 may make an appearance.
Wow. Okay. So they're really going to go back into the
Yeah, they've done a
movies.
great job of looping in the history of Karate Kid and Karate Kid Part 2 and carrying it through. They've done a really good job of carrying that torch.
All right.
So you know what I'm doing on Friday, guys? I'm going to try to make my own teriyaki sauce.
Ooh.
And do like a smoked wing with that teriyaki glaze. And I'm hoping that, the temperature will be just right to kind of lock in the glaze, but not make it too sticky or too dry. And if you'd like recipe advice on that, I can help you as well. But if we're starting to get into Cobra Kai, I'm unable to contribute, unfortunately.
I got nothing else because I haven't seen it yet. I'll have to get caught up.
Yeah,
on it.
I just haven't seen it.
Yeah, I got to get caught up. I've been on All or Nothing with Jose Mourinho.
Yes.
Yelling at people a lot, but it's been good stuff. Let's get into, because we've stalled long enough. Let's get into the match from the weekend. It was no good.
No.
It was not fun. And how do we make it fun again, Mike?
I don't know.
Don't give up goals in the first minute, maybe?
I wish I knew. I mean, this is a very broken team right now. And I hope that doesn't sound too dramatic or demeaning. I just think you've got a very, very broken team, broken from a confidence standpoint, and why not? I mean, that might be, and there are circumstances that go into it. I think fatigue is a huge, huge factor. The travel, all of that, not having Joseph and Pitti, not having Mays, like there's a lot of reasons. But that might be the worst 2-match stretch this club has ever played. It's certainly in the argument. There are reasons for it, but it doesn't change the fact that it occurred. So from a confidence standpoint, I mean, I have a feeling they're probably shattered right now. And I think one of the things that really affects your confidence is when, it's great business for the club. But when you're without Joseph and now you take a second designated player out of the mix, I think it creates a lot of self-doubt, among the team. Do we have enough to overcome that? Now, I mean, certainly we heard some public-facing comments on Friday, although I think they may have been taken out of context somewhat. But there were some comments Friday that seemed to indicate that there was confidence. But I think that has changed quite a bit when you give up 4 goals to a team that doesn't really score much in Nashville. So I think that the confidence is broken. I don't see chemistry. I don't see any kind of societies on the pitch building. I'm seeing mistakes that we are just not accustomed to seeing a professional soccer team, much less Atlanta United, make on the repeated basis that we're seeing. So, I don't know, guys. I mean, it's kind of like you're so far off track right now that getting on track is going to be a very long process. And I don't know if it's something that can happen with a full week of training, which fortunately they're getting and they badly need. Mm-hmm. I don't know if it's something that comes with a full week of rest, which is something they're getting and they badly need. The chemistry seems completely off. Everything has moved too slowly. It's weird because Atlanta United is probably one of the best passing teams in the league. I mean, they're consistently passing over 85% in all their games. I've seen so many people say, well, that things just aren't being linked between, the back line and the attack. Things are breaking down in the midfield. Well, these passes are being completed, but it's so disjointed. It's so off. No one seems to be on the same page. And, I don't know how you fix it in a short span of time. I think one thing that would help enormously is if you stop giving up early goals, which they have done repeatedly. But that's a simple, that's a facile explanation for where we are right now. I think it's so all-encompassing right now that you can't pin it down just on one thing.
See, I'll go a little bit point by point on it because, at least in this game, I feel like the goals you gave up in the first half were due to fatigue, mental and physical. Brooks Lennon had an awful day. That's why he came out at halftime. I mean, it was awful. And he hasn't had that game at all in an Atlanta shirt yet. So you give up 3 goals in the first half, you're screwed. And you give up a goal in the first minute the way you did, and you give up a goal on your own throw the way you did, you're screwed. You forget it. So you got to get healthy. You got to get rested. That's number one. You can't do anything else until that happened. You've got to have some time training to work on the things that you talked about, like building those connections. I feel like we were starting to see elements of it. Now we have a question about Jurgen Damm and where he will be after a hamstring injury, which is down to playing a lot of games in a short period of time and not at full fitness. You've got to get healthy first, no question, because you can't do anything else if you're not healthy. That's number one. And healthy, I'm saying healthy and rested. It's in the same conversation. You've got to do that first. You've got to not give up early goals. That's the second thing for me. Because you can't win games if you're giving up early goals. You can't build connections. You can't build chemistry. You can't play a normal match if you're giving up goals in the first minute and the first 20 minutes. You can't. So that has to stop. You do that, you can start to build the rest, because the rest takes time. Building chemistry, building an attack. We've seen it, honestly, almost every year Atlanta United's been in existence. Their attack got better as the year went on. Early on, it was, and it got better and better and better and better because you built chemistry. But you can't do that if you're tired and playing from behind. And you're getting the tired part handled now. That's number one. You got a week off. That's going to be a big help. But now you've got to eliminate those mistakes that are conceding goals in the first half. And then you can play. The passing numbers for me, I think it's down to teams are dropping off deeper, so they're giving Atlanta those passes. Atlanta is not making the risky passes where their percentage would go down, but they might create opportunities going forward more. They're taking the easier passes and playing back or sideways too often in the attacking half, not in the build-up. The build-up's been okay. I don't have as much of a problem with the build-up. It's the midfield to the front, getting in the attacking half into the final third. That's where it breaks down for me.
That's a really good point-by-point breakdown. I really hope the week off is going to help, because you're going right back into the deep end after Saturday. I mean, then you got to play, fortunately, another home game, but you got to play another home match against Dallas, and then you go Wednesday to Sunday night, as opposed to Wednesday to Saturday. That's going to help you a little. But then, I mean, we don't know. You still have to play 9 more matches between the end of September and Decision Day, which is the first weekend of November. Typically, the league's going to give you a 7-day break going into Decision Day. So one is to assume that October is going to be matches every 3 or 4 days again, at least until the end of the month. So you got to really, I guess, take advantage of the time you have right now. Now, look, maybe there's help on the way. I mean, it sounds like Marcelino Moreno is at least not going to be with Lanaus anymore. So, I mean, I guess we can kind of connect the dots there. I saw a tweet. I don't know how this has happened or how it's possible, but now apparently Eric Lopez is training with the first team. And I don't know what the outcome of that is going to be, if they can get him onto a match day roster or not. I don't know if something has changed. But Carlos did say on the TV broadcast last weekend that they were gonna bring someone in. It's probably going to be Moreno. No, he didn't say that. I'm saying it.
Right.
So I mean, you're going to get help, but again, from a chemistry standpoint, it takes weeks. Now then again, I mean, Pity Martinez went to Al Nassr last night. Looked pretty good. Looked like he fit in pretty well. Had an assist. So maybe it doesn't take quite as much time as some will make it out to be to develop that kind of chemistry. But Pity came in with fitness. I don't know what Moreno's fitness situation is going to be. So, I mean, we'll just have to see. But Jason's spot on. You've got to take advantage. And I know that, the one thing we've learned over the years is Atlanta United's physio staff is just unbelievable at giving the team every possible advantage in dealing with the time off that they get. So hopefully that is going to turn into a positive this week. You have a winnable match coming up on Saturday. Mm-hmm. And I know you've had your struggles against Miami this year, but they've been explainable struggles. Again, partially because of match compression. So you got a winnable match. You've got a chance to get your sea legs. You've got a chance to come good a little bit on Saturday. And getting the full week to prepare should help. If it doesn't, then you really start mashing the panic button.
Well, and Mike, we've seen the back develop with Anton and Miles and George Bello on the left and Franco Escobar on the right. And I would think, and at least I would hope, that there should be confidence with that back line for you, for the guys who would be in the attack in any given possession, to sit there and say, okay, we've got a back line, we can trust them, and we can go forward and get things done in the other 2/3 of the pitch in any given possession. True?
Yes, sure. Yes, I agree with you, John. But I think I think there's more to it than that. I mean, that is absolutely a great point, and it should help. But it still just feels off. And I can't really give you like a technical explanation or an analytical explanation other than it just feels off. And Jason's right. Fatigue really comes into play. Like Brooks Lennon, we saw him make completely uncharacteristic mistakes on Saturday. Had to be subbed off at halftime. I mean, totally out of gas. We've seen marking errors on set pieces this year that just completely baffle you, because these are not errors that we are accustomed to seeing from Atlanta United. So it just begs the question, like, okay, why is this happening? And why does it continue to happen? I would absolutely have a ton of faith in, Miles Robinson and Anton Walks. I think they've been a good center back pairing. I think getting Meza back makes it even better. Brooks had a shocker on Saturday, but Escobar is solid. I think Brooks can be solid as a right back, and Bello as a left back might be turning into one of the best left backs in this league. So yeah, absolutely. But again, it's weird. I feel like Jason and I will sit after matches and we'll talk about, okay, who's your man of the match, even after a loss. And we'll talk about 5-6 different guys and say, individually, this guy's playing pretty well, but as part of the group, it's not working. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I think you've got a lot of individuals right now where you can pick him out and say, okay, yeah, he's doing his job. He's doing what he's supposed to be doing. He's playing pretty well. But the sum of all parts right now is just not where it needs to be. So I get where you're going with that, John, but I can't explain why it's still not happening, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I think it's, like I said, I think it's a couple things. It's the fitness, the rest, lack of rest, whatever, and giving up early goals, because giving up early goals dents your confidence. And when you're struggling and you concede in the first minute after you were already struggling, it's hard not to have your heads go down. You know, you get one back, and then you give up another one in another weird situation on a throw where Lennon is just caught flat-footed. Dax McCarty steps in front of him, wins the header, they're off to the races. You then heads go back down. Even if they don't literally go down in front of us watching it, internally they do, because you know how hard it is to come from behind. That affects the confidence. Then you get into the situation that we've seen in the attack where nobody is willing to take a risk. And, you know, I know a lot of people didn't rate him the way that I did, but Pity Martinez took risks. He sometimes took too many risks. He sometimes took risks in bad spots on the field. But he took risks. He's not there anymore. You don't have a natural risk taker in the attack. We'll see if you have a situation, if Moreno comes into the team, where I don't think he's a risk taker. He's a player who can create opportunities off the dribble for sure. And that's something this team has needed. If the movement's not going to be there off the ball, you've got to create opportunities off the dribble. Barco's going 1v2 half the time because teams are double teaming him. I mean, it's just it's easy.
1v3 even.
Yeah.
I mean, he's just, he gets the ball and he's swarmed.
Yeah, it's easy.
No one can pass out of that.
No, and then the runs aren't happening to help him pass out of that, and it's just it's tough. But this all goes back to the fatigue and the early goals, because if those things can be corrected, you can build something. If they can't be, there's nothing you can do. And the fatigue is not going away in a holistic sense. I mean, Robert Lewandowski, you know, as good of a player as you're going to find. This is the quote from him about the upcoming season that European clubs are going to play. And it's a similar type of calendar that MLS has been under. He said the 2020-2021 season for every club and every footballer will be the most difficult season in our lives. We have games almost every 3 days without a break. It will be difficult. For everyone in football, it will be something we never had in our lives, and we have to be ready. And that's a guy at the top of the game.
Yeah.
Saying that this is going to be the most difficult thing I've ever faced on the field. That's what MLS players are dealing with.
Well, and it's, again, I feel like I'm a broken record when I say this. It's not just Atlanta United that's going through this. I mean, again, look at the great LAFC. And I know they got a positive result over the weekend, but look at this, you know, supposedly all-time greatest team in the history of the league. They're having the same problems Atlanta United's having. Their best players out. They're playing a ton of matches, and they're not getting a lot of results. They did get one over the weekend, but they're struggling. A lot of teams are in this boat right now. It really, honestly, is a testament to teams like Columbus who have been able to weather their way through it. But I think an examination of Columbus's schedule might also give you some hints on how they've been able to endure what they've endured. Now, what really hurts you from an Atlanta standpoint is the scheduling pod they were given should have been a more manageable pod than what it was. 2 expansion teams in Orlando.
On paper, you would think that. I think Nashville and Miami are better than typical expansion teams.
Well, I agree. But it's not like you're playing – it's not like you're in a pod with Toronto, Columbus, and Philadelphia.
Yeah. No, accurate. Completely accurate.
Yeah. So, Mike, the other discussion. Oh, and separately, before I get into the other thing, a lot of folks are saying that you did a hell of a job this past weekend calling the Atlanta Falcons game.
Oh, thanks. Yeah. Hopefully I won't have to do that again. Jason had a front row seat to some of that on Saturday. That I found out very much at the last minute. So, but thank you. It was a busy weekend, but. Thank you very much for that.
I was hoping for a Golasso on the Falcons call, but
I should have done that too because Gurley scored the touchdown. I just kind of forgot.
A Gurley Golasso
could have been a Gurlasso.
Ooh!
Someone tweeted that. I think Michael Morris. Someone tweeted that at me. I'm like, you know what? I'm going to steal that. That's good. And then I completely forgot to do it. I also expected them to score more than one touchdown in the first half. So
there's that.
What are you going to do?
Yeah.
No, but the other discussion we were getting into this morning was the look of the next salary cap structure.
Yeah.
Us with the new CBA coming aboard, and Jason was looking at something NBA-ish next time around to help benefit Major League Soccer. What do you think?
When you say NBA-ish, do you mean like a luxury tax?
Yeah, I mean, compared to the NFL where it's a hard cap, or compared to what MLS currently has, which is all these different little aspects to limit spending. I think, I mean, the NBA has limits, but they also have ways that teams can spend more, and they have all the different rules. I think that should be the goal from an MLS perspective for me, is to find a way to model that and make it work for soccer.
Yeah, I think as long as it's within a certain percentage of league revenue, like you don't want to have this. You don't want to have a problem like the National Hockey League had, where you have like 6 runaway clubs that were.
And then Arizona.
Yeah, exactly. Now, the NHL didn't have a salary cap at all. But, I mean, Major League Baseball would probably be a better example, like where you have a couple runaway clubs. Okay, no problem. We'll pay billions in luxury tax if we have to. No problem. So it's got to be within, I think, a percentage of the league revenue. That's just to ensure the financial health of Major League Soccer. It's for no other reason. It's not from a competitive balance standpoint at all. I'm just saying you have to do things that will protect the league. One of the reasons why the league has endured this pandemic is because of the financial protections in place. So I think you have to be a little careful. But, yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think, if there are big clubs out there that want to spend big and bring in big players and raise the playing quality of this league, you have to let them do that. I think by attaching it to a percentage of league revenue as opposed to club revenue, you might make some of the owners that would not want to be doing this a little less skittish. And if you set up the luxury tax in such a way where the tax money is paid out to the teams that don't spend the cap, it's a little bit of corporate welfare, but it might incentivize those teams to go and then use that money on players. So, I think that's a fundamentally sound idea. Ideally, I would love a world where we didn't have a salary cap in Major League Soccer. I just don't think you're there yet, and you might not be there for a very long time.
I don't know if you want to get there, because I don't know if you want the Bundesliga, like where who's going to win going into the season, or Serie A. Well, at least you got a little bit of competition there this year, but Juve's won it over and over and over again. I don't know if that would benefit the league. I think finding the balance between the two is the trick, and that's. I feel like the NBA has found the best way to do that. And the other element of it for me would be to do that to where you can lift some of those teams that might not have the ability to spend as much up a little bit so they're more competitive. But then I would also flip the playoffs to where it's 2 legs across the board, to where the better team has the better opportunity to win. It eliminates the lottery ticket scenario in the postseason.
Here's one caution that I would have, though, about the NBA system. Mm-hmm. The NBA is at a point now with the salary floor where you have to overpay some players. Like, I'm not going to name names, but there are guys in the NBA right now that are making $12 million a year that should be making $2 million a year.
Right.
But you have to spend that kind of money to get to a salary floor. So I would not just copy the NBA system. I think it's got to be tweaked.
Yeah, of course.
And I think the owners would push back on the idea that, well, because we have the salary floor and players are guaranteed a certain percentage of league revenue, we're going to end up maybe underpaying some of our best players because of the cap, but we're going to overpay some of the rank and file players, and it just creates a whole mess.
The one thing that would be different, and you got to tweak it to the soccer world, but with the global nature, and I know the NBA's getting there, and I don't think they're coming from that perspective yet of, okay, I'm going to overpay $12 million for this guy that isn't really going to play for me. Instead of going to get that good young player out of Spain that I might want to bring in and grow, they're not thinking that way yet. But in the soccer world, you would be. So maybe it doesn't have the same effect. I don't know. It's a fascinating conversation, and I hope it's the conversations that the league's strategic planning group is having about what that next CBA can look like.
Yeah, the funny thing is, the next CBA probably isn't going to be for, 4 or 5 years?
I think it's 25, and you're getting into planning for what the bump could be from the World Cup in 26, so that's a critical one to me.
And you could also have a force majeure kicker come in. Yeah, that's unfortunately still a possibility. So, yeah, I mean, it's something you got to be thinking about right now. It'll probably be easier to plan for a lot of this once you know what your next national broadcast contract is going to look like. And I think what we are hearing and seeing, hopefully this bodes well for MLS, is that, like, the NFL is rushing to get a deal locked in right now for their next round of TV contracts, one that's probably going to put ABC back into Monday Night Football. And it looks like the NFL might actually be able to slightly grow their TV revenue from where it is right now. That's a good sign. I think some people were wondering, with the pandemic and advertising going to where it did, that leagues might potentially be losing money on their next deal. It does not look or sound that way as of right now. So hopefully that bodes well for Major League Soccer, where I know they were expecting a significant bump, and maybe they can still get it.
Fingers crossed. You'll be back on Friday, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. You got action at the Fraction tonight, right?
Yeah, we do have some action at the Fraction. It might be rainy action at the Fraction.
Yes.
Yeah, blustery.
Yes, distraction at the Fraction.
It could be.
But I think we have some good talking points. Now, I really like your point-by-point breakdown there, Jason. We'll try to guide everyone through it at 2 p.m. on stoppage time because we're in a tough spot right now. I think Jason and we're in a tough spot because every time we try to explain why this is happening, I think a knee-jerk reaction on the part of a lot of people is, you're just making excuses. No, we aren't making excuses. We're trying to explain why this might be happening. It's not an excuse.
It's context.
Yeah, that's all. Look, I mean, this club's not playing well right now. I'll be the first one to tell you that. I'm sure Jason would probably echo that. They're not playing well. Mm-hmm. They're not playing to the standard that we are accustomed to. They know it. They don't need us reminding them.
Yeah, you don't got to tell them twice.
They don't tell me how to call games. I don't tell them how to play games. So that's one other thing I would say. It's good that we have a very passionate fan base. I think and I understand why it's gotten so negative because they aren't playing to the standard that we expect. But I am seeing some comments that I don't think are very constructive. And I just think that part of it doesn't help. So it's not going to help for me, or I don't want to put words in Jason's mouth. It's not going to help for me to start pounding the table and screaming and yelling about all these things I'm seeing because it's not going to be constructive. So I'm just trying to offer explanations, and I think Jason has done a good job today, offer explanations of why it might be this way without pardoning it. We aren't doing that. We're not pardoning it. We're just trying to maybe give you some thoughts on why it is the way it is.
We'll keep trying to figure it out on stoppage time at 2 o'clock. Facebook.com/929 the game.
Brought to you by El Jimador. Yeah, check your email, Jason. I think we have a new slide we're supposed to use today.
Look at that. Yeah. Hold on. That deserves something at least. I don't have a tequila sounder, but
there it is.
Wow. Nice.
So, yeah. So we'll be brought to you by El Jimador today and for the foreseeable future. We want to thank them for their partnership.
Excellent. Breaking news on Soccer Down Here, and we'll have that later today. Thanks, Mike.
Okay, guys. Take care.
Bye.
All right. We got all the things the rest of the way. Great conversation on the Twitch pitch this morning with us and with y'all yourselves. Love when we get this kind of stuff going on as we all try to figure everything out and create a better American soccer universe. One day, we'll get there. One day, somehow.
Breaking news sounder, please.
Again?
Yeah.
Jeez. I just did it. What now?
The Minister of Culture did not break this news for Austin FC, but the team has announced Adrian Healy is going to be their English language play-by-play commentator and executive director of broadcast and content starting in 2021.
Very cool. Adrian Healy from ESPN has been a long time ESPN play-by-play voice. You've heard him on everything. Great job at ESPN, and I'm sure he'll do a great job building out what Austin FC sounds like. That's awesome.
Can you imagine a conversation between Healy and McConaughey?
Yeah, actually, I could. I think they'll get along really, really well. I could see that going over really, really well. I'll be curious to see who Healy gets paired with on the call.
Yes.
That'll be fun. Taylor Twellman, who's worked with Adrian Healy for years and years and years, said, great hire. Adrian Healy will be perfect for Austin. He will enjoy that city. Hope his golf game improves.
He'll have opportunities.
He will, but he's got a lot of work to do.
He do.
A lot of work building that out for next year. I'm excited about Austin coming in. I know that, the way everything went down with Precourt and Columbus and all that, I know it's easy. Anthony Precourt, the evil man, and he was going to steal it. We hoped when all that started that it would work out the way that it did, that somebody would come in and keep Columbus in Columbus. And yes, technically they're an expansion team according to the paperwork, but we don't really call it that way. And then Precourt would get to build out Austin, because I think everybody zeroed in on Austin being bad because of Anthony Precourt. No, it had nothing to do with it. People didn't like the way he was trying to get what he wanted done, but he bought the Columbus Crew and nobody else wanted it. He kept it alive. He had an out to go to Austin. He exercised the out. The reason he had the out was nobody else wanted to buy it when it was for sale. He was the only guy. So he did what he was doing for his business. He didn't want to be in Columbus. Columbus isn't a huge market. He felt like there was more in Austin. Again, it all worked out because Columbus said, no, we want a team. We can support a team. They found ownership to keep the team. And he gets to go and build something in Austin that is coming together really, really well. I really enjoy what Austin FC is building, so I'm excited to see them come into the league. And this is another good hire for them.
All right, we have Twitter, we have juice boxes, we have fantasy.
Let's get into fantasy first, because you've got games in MLS this evening that you have to have your fantasy lineups ready for. Now, remember, your double match week, you don't get points for both. You get points for the best performance for your player. You've got 3 games tonight. Dallas hosting Colorado, San Jose hosting Portland, Vancouver hosting Montreal. So if you are thinking about players on those teams, you've got to get it set up. So we'll go ahead and talk fantasy for the week now. Let's see what my squad is looking like. I had a good week. I've had actually some good weeks here in a row.
Yeah.
I have moved up the table because the first 2 weeks back in March, my team was horrendous.
They were.
But now I've moved up. Hey, you shut your mouth. I've moved up to 30th. I'll take that. I was 20th last week. I'll take that. Where are you, John?
Where am I? Let's see where I am. Leagues. Clicking leagues.
You're 19th.
In the Open League, I am 19th out of 93.
The Open League is what we're talking about here because that's just the easiest basis for comparison. So 19th, you have 408 points. You had 67 last week. I beat you last week, but I am overall for the season still climbing out of the hole that I had the first 2 weeks. Quick math, 37 points behind you. So I'm closing that gap.
All right.
But yeah, I had a good week last week. So will I have a good week this week? Let's see what we think. What is your team looking like for the upcoming week? Have you made it yet?
Yes, I have.
We're not talking about the Pro Rel League, Ricky Ricardo. I'm not in it. I'll be pouty about that because I didn't have time.
I'm second in the Pro Rel League.
Yeah, you'll collapse. It'll happen.
I'm fairly certain I will.
I'm rooting against
Gillespie and Net going up against Chicago.
That's a pretty good pick. I got Zach McMath going up against Vancouver on their second game of the week.
Back four of... Since it's Columbus and Nashville, I'm assuming that Nashville won't score a whole lot of goals in this one.
We assumed that last week.
I know. Mensah, Valenzuela going up against Nashville for Columbus. Omar Gonzalez going up against D.C. And Nick DePaie from Los Angeles going against Colorado.
I got Minor Figueroa for Houston against Minnesota. He gets forward. I like him. Anton Tennerholm against New England. Gets forward, scores goals. Jovan Jones against LAFC because their defense is bad. That's my 3. I don't have a back 4.
Okay. Midfield, Legit, Pozuelo captained, Ladero, and Rusnak going up against Vancouver.
I got Pozuelo. I got Diego Valeri because I think he's got to step up for Portland. I wanted to go with a little more firepower up top, so I've got 2 not quite budget picks, but I think 2 value picks. Robin Lod and Hassani Dotson. I'm not completely and utterly sold there. I might do some tinkering when we're done.
Yeah. And then up top, it is Jordan Morris, Daryl Dike with a bench of Willis, Juan, Matriza, and Akinola.
You keep buying into the Daryl Dike hype. What's he done lately?
Hey, at $5.4 million and averaging 6 points
nice.
a game.
You don't get points for that. You don't get points for having a low salary.
No, but he's what I can fit in there.
What's he done lately? What's he done lately? Is that why I beat you last week?
Probably.
I just finally won a week, so I get to talk trash. I got Jordan Morris. I got Kasper Shabilko going up against Montreal in their second game of the week. And I got Romel Kyoto because I feel like he will have points in one of the 2 games, but I think it'll be most likely tonight against Vancouver when Montreal clinches their spot in the Canadian Championship final after a win tonight.
So that's where I am with my roster at 124.7, and I still have 300,000 to tinker if I feel compelled.
Yes, I am at 124.7 as well. I am debating Laud and Dotson and maybe reconfiguring things, but I have not decided as of yet.
So that's where I am on fantasy.
All right, we'll see if I beat you again this week.
You will.
Stop doing that. You're better than me so far this season, but I'm
But
climbing out of the hole.
you had a horrendous start, and you've had a better comeback since.
I have been pretty good lately, and we'll see if I can continue it. I had somebody tell me on Twitter that they wish they had been taking my juice box predictions, which I don't know if they've heard all of them because I feel like I'm about 50-50 generally on this. They said they would have had a lot of juice boxes. I don't know. Let's see what we got here. So tonight, 8:30, Dallas hosting Colorado. What are the numbers looking like?
FC Dallas plus 114 in the composite. Colorado plus 227. Your draw plus 259.
Colorado coming off the big win. Dallas. I don't know how I feel about FC Dallas yet. I've not felt good about Colorado for a while, but they had a huge win, so that makes you feel better. Dallas has got 1 loss in their last 6, 3 draws, 2 wins out of that. Dallas does not have the Cobra. He is back in the Czech Republic. Gwen's very sad about the Cobra being gone. No Paxton Pomacall either, but that goal from Andres Ricarte, whoo, that was a great debut for the Colombian. Dallas is at home. Dallas is a favorite. I don't trust Colorado to go wild juice boxes here, so I think Dallas wins this one. I think like a 2-1.
Okay. I can live with that. I'm down there.
All right. San Jose and Portland is at 9:30. It's a weird kick time for a game in San Jose, but it is on FS1. What are the numbers looking like for this bit of madness?
San Jose plus 137. Portland plus 174. And your draws a plus 279.
I feel like I see those numbers for Portland and my eyes pop out because I really like the Portland Timbers and what they can be this year. They're just not consistently that. Yeah. And I feel like they let me down about half as much as they actually make me feel good when I see those numbers.
Right.
I don't trust San Jose at all right now. I don't know how they got a scoreless draw over the weekend. I have no idea how that happened. Portland should win this game. They're the better team. I think they can negate some of what makes San Jose difficult. Will they? I think they will. I think Portland will get the win on the road here. I think it'll be kind of weird. I'm going 3-1.
Yeah, I was thinking 1 goal. I was thinking a Wando Poacher's goal for San Jose, and then Portland getting more than that. So I'm with you there as well. I think Portland gets the Duke.
Vancouver and Montreal. Vancouver's a home dog. What are the numbers?
Plus 243, and Montreal is a plus 106. Your draw is a plus 263.
So I would pair up Dallas, Montreal in a parlay, since neither one's a huge win, but I like both of those as wins. So, yeah, I like Montreal here. They've got something to play for. Vancouver's bad. Cavallini's suspended because he lost his mind.
He did.
Montreal wins, and they win comfortably, 3-0.
Okay, yeah. I don't see Vancouver scoring, and I see Montreal scoring at least 2. So, yeah, I'm with you there as well. I think Montreal gets the Duke. I think they get the +2 in goal difference, and I think they get the bid.
So, yeah, no wild, crazy, weird juice box things on this round. We'll talk about Friday's game and the weekend games coming up later this week. Seattle and LAFC Friday night should be a fun one at 10 o'clock Eastern time.
Yep.
All right. Yeah, Uncle No Pockets, worried about the Timbers out in Oregon. Without Sebastian Blanco, I think Diego Valeri has to step up. And that's why I've got him in my fantasy team, and that's why I'm picking Portland tonight. I am buying in. I am drinking the Diego Valeri Kool-Aid.
No, I'm right there with you. Copa Libertadores juice boxes?
Yeah, what are the numbers looking for the Copa Libertadores? Hold on, I'll get your schedule out, and we'll go game by game rather quickly. Again, these are all on BN Sports. They're all on Fanatis, ftz.co/soccer down here. You can go there and sign up for a free trial. You can go there and subscribe. It helps us on the show. We love to help Fanatis. We love to watch the Copa Libertadores on Fanatis. We won't be watching tonight because we'll be busy. So I'm going to have to keep up with the score lines on these games. You got 2 at 6:15. Let's go with the lesser one first. Estudiantes Merida and Alianza Lima. What are the numbers looking like?
Estudiantes Merida +112, Alianza Lima +269, and your draw +217.
I want to go Alianza Lima. These games are really hard to call right now with the situations that all these teams are in. What does it look like for most recent results?
El Mataflow is going Alianza Lima.
I am too. And that number worries me a little bit, but Estudiantes, Venezuelan club, they have not played since March 12th. We saw it with Jorge Wilstermann, where they just ran out of gas at the end of that game. Alianza Lima has been playing. Alianza Lima is a big, big club. They haven't been playing well since the restart. They beat our boys Binacional in the first or second match back, but since that, draw, loss. And that's what they're coming into here. They do have to travel. They're the better team by far. I get them at +200 something. Yeah, I'm going to take Alianza Lima as well. That's a pretty good one.
Yep. Internacional and America de Cali.
Yeah, this is a good one. Internacional has been the top team in Brazil so far this season. What are the numbers looking like?
-222 for Internacional. America de Cali +673, and your draw is a +319. And no surprise, El Mataflow has Internacional.
Yeah, I think you got to go Internacional at home here. Even with that big negative number, the America de Cali number, I can't go for that. I can't do it. 8:30, you got 3 games to pick from. Independiente Medellin and Caracas FC, another Venezuelan team that has not been playing matches since March. The Colombian teams haven't been playing much either. Independiente Medellin has not been back yet. They come back on Saturday in league play. So, crapshoot? What are the numbers?
Well, El Mataflow has Independiente Medellin.
Let's understand. The Colombian league's better than the Venezuelan league. If all things are considered between the two, yes, Independiente Medellin should win the game. There's no question.
So, here's your numbers. Medellin -175, Caracas +523, and your draw +281.
I'll take Caracas in the madness. So, what juice box am I going to put on it, though?
Something aloe-y?
No, because neither team's played a game in a while. So, it's not that weird. Caracas has got to travel, though, so that does make it more of a long shot. Nah, I'll just put a cran mango juice box. That would be a hideous combination.
Okay.
Just because I want to see an upset. Independiente Medellin should win that game.
All right, two more.
Yep.
Bolivar and Palmeiras.
Okay.
Bolivar plus 206, Palmeiras plus 134, and your draw plus 227.
Man, Bolivar's only plus 2 something. I was hoping that would be the crazy, weird juice box of the day against Palmeiras. I mean, it's in Bolivia, but they haven't played, and again, we saw it with Jorge Wilstermann. Palmeiras should win that match. You're getting them at a plus, you take it.
Yeah. El Mataflo has Palmeiras as well.
Yeah.
And Universidad Católica and Gremio is your last one on the board at 8:30. Católica is a plus 204. Gremio is a plus 145. Your draw is a plus 209. And El Mataflo has UCAT 1-0 over Gremio.
Yeah, I'm leaning that way too. Gremio, I mean, is a big club. They are 1-1 or 1-0-1 in the first 2 games in the group stage. Universidad Católica lost both of their games so far. You look back at Universidad Católica and what they've been doing lately. They've been throttling people in their last 3. 3-0 on Sunday, 3-1 last Wednesday, 4-1 last Saturday. They're in a good run of form. I don't believe, although I'm going to double check it and not make stuff up, Gremio has not necessarily been in that level of form. They drew 1-1. That was Sunday. They won 2-0 on Thursday. They drew 1-1 last Sunday. They lost 2-1 on the 3rd. They lost 2-1 in the Gaucho second leg final on August 30th. And they've been getting red cards in each of the last 3 games. So I will take a red card for Gremio, and I'll take a win for Universidad Católica.
Okay, sounds good to me. We can fire up Fanatis on the laptops in the press box.
We got work to do, man.
We do.
We might have a rain delay, and then we're great, but
Yes.
we got work to do. I can't be watching that game, too. I might start speaking Spanish on the call.
So Tampa Bay is in town tonight a little after 7:30. Group H action at the Fraction.
Beat the Rowdies for once. I don't like those guys. They're good. They're really good.
They are.
They're physical. They like to talk a lot. Forrest Lasso will knock you down and smile at you.
A lumberjack at the back.
Yeah, I don't know about that one yet. Sebastian Guenzati is one of those players that can play in MLS, in my opinion. Leo Fernandez has played in MLS, and he can play there again. Gwen hates the Rowdies. She's barking a lot about the Rowdies. I like Juan Tejada. He's a success story with a guy who came in, won a tryout, got in the team, and is just a really hard-working player who's getting better and better every time. It's a good team. It's a really good team. And Atlanta's played them tough this season. And that's a credit to a young team that you compare average ages of these teams. I mean, you've got situations where Caleb Wiley at left back at 15 was going up against somebody twice his age.
Mm-hmm.
That happens. I mean, that's where this team is. And Tampa Bay is one of the better teams in USL, in my opinion. They can't get past Charleston lately. That's been weird. Charleston's had their number, but Tampa Bay has been really good against most other teams in the league. It won't be easy for the Twos tonight. I would love to see them get a signature kind of win late this season, something to, I think show the progress and build on as they continue to go. And if you beat Tampa Bay tonight, it would be that kind of game. Now, it's going to be tough because the conditions are going to play to Tampa Bay's favor, in my opinion. Tampa Bay is a team that will have no problem being direct. No problem just blasting the ball long. No problem, deciding not to try to play any kind of a build-up play because the conditions might make all that difficult. We'll see if Atlanta United 2 can handle a street fight because this game, if the weather, the wind, the rain affects it, it's going to play to Tampa Bay's advantage. Can Atlanta win a fight? Because that's what this game could turn into.
I mean, remember down at Al Lang where early red card, Jackson Conway Galazzo, and you've had those kind of moments for Atlanta United too. And I think that one was in a bit of a monsoon as well, if memory serves. So they've been in these conditions with them down there. It's probably going to be that way up here tonight. Juice boxes, Tampa Bay minus 167, and that changed when I looked at it. Atlanta United 2 plus 359, your draw plus 286.
Yep. Couple bits of rumor, and this is shared from our friend Tafka on the Twitters, and we'll have to see where all this goes. Again, we're hearing things that sometimes don't line up with where things actually stand here in this country because you're dealing with media from different countries. We had mentioned the reports about Rocco Rios Novo, the 18-year-old goalkeeper, Argentine Youth International, who appears to be part of this move with Marcelino Moreno coming to Atlanta United. Rocco Rios Novo would come on loan with an option to buy, and there'd been a report, or at least a number that I had seen thrown around of $3 million on that option to buy. That would feel accurate. I haven't seen that backed up anywhere yet. But a report here, remember also about Novo, he was born in Los Angeles, so he's a U.S. citizen, so you don't have to worry about international slot there. The talk is that he would play in the USL Championship first this season with the option to buy. There's only a few games left, so I don't know if that's accurate.
Yeah.
He would probably play a good bit in Atlanta United 2 next season as well, if he's the second or third goalkeeper in Atlanta, which he would likely be next year. Then done. Now, the question, and you don't know where all this falls, is how do you divide things up to make it work? There was a report in TIC in a general Lanús article yesterday that everything's been moving along with the transfer in Marcelino Moreno, but there was some little hiccup. Don't know exactly what it is. There's a small obstacle, is how it's been described. I don't know. I don't know if that has to do with the MLS rule situation. I don't know where that falls. Or if it's just navigating how you sort this out with these two players. And, okay, if you're going to pay X amount for two players and one's on a loan and one's here, how can you finesse the numbers to make sure that you can get Moreno maybe not on a designated player deal? I don't know if you can pull that off. If you can, then, man, give the capologists a raise. If you can't, you still want to get the best deal you can for the club. I think Marcelino Moreno is a designated player level player. I think it's kind of crazy to think that he's not. Is he the typical kind of Atlanta United designated player sort of get? He's older, so is Pitti. He's not coming off of a South American Player of the Year season that Pitti did, but he's coming off of being one of the top players in the Argentine League, which Pitti was as well. He's coming from a club that has sent players to MLS who've had success. Diego Valeri's one of them. Sebastian Blanco's one of them. Miguel Almiron's one of them. So he feels like he's a good fit, can be really good in this league, and can be designated player worthy. All of those players are designated players. And if you can somehow get him on less than that, and it includes getting a U.S.-born goalkeeper who played in the U17 World Cup for Argentina, man, that could be a really nice piece of business if you can tie all of those things together. So stay tuned. As we've seen in Europe, as we've seen all around the world, these deals right now, I think everybody is really focused on every dollar, every cent in it. Because, look, everybody's lost some money. But you still have to function and find a way to go forward. And these are players that I think can help push Atlanta forward. But they don't want to spend money if they don't have to. So you're going to get down to those last little bits of, okay, well, we want to cut back here. We want to spend a little less here. Well, we want more money here. Okay, let's find a number that makes sense. The deal's going to happen. The president of Lanús was on local radio yesterday. He said the club was talking about the transfer of Marcelino Moreno. When you get to that point, it's going to happen. Lanús isn't in a bad financial spot. They actually have managed their money really well, but they're feeling the pinch of this as well. They can't go add any players without selling somebody. If they sell Marcelino Moreno in the $7 million range, that could be 4 players from Argentina that you could go get, potentially. And that could be a significant effect on that squad. Losing Moreno will hurt them a lot. But if you can go get 4 guys to replace him, that might make them better in the long run because of the way the money can fall. I mean, this is a club that is trying to get back to the Copa Libertadores level. And they're going to need more than just one player to do that. If they can sell 1 and get 4, it's good business. Yeah. So I think the deal is going to happen. It's just what the timeline looks like. There's another deal coming out of Argentina involving MLS as well. Houston Dynamo, it looks like Albert Ellis has gone to Boa Vista. In Portugal, he'll be a teammate of Reggie Cannon. Houston has went to Argentina to a second division club, Instituto, and they are looking at Mateo Bahamic, a forward. $1.2 million is the transfer, 4-year deal. It's an interesting one for Houston because they've done so well in Central America. I wondered if they would go back to Honduras and look for the next Albert Ellis, but they're going to Argentina and going into a smaller market. Is it going to be a good deal for them? We'll just have to see. You know, you get into the second division in Argentina, and it's a little more of a crapshoot. But 1.2 is not a crazy amount, and 1.2 over 4 years isn't a big deal, and the salary is not going to be huge. So it's not a huge financial risk, but it's a risk on if he is that kind of player that they're going to need. So Argentina and the United States, the pipeline is still strong across the league, and we'll see when these deals get finalized and get announced.
Let's see. Are you going to keep going? Because I have to be on the air in an hour in another location.
I think we're good. I can't think of anything else we have not covered as of yet. A lot of talk about the Ted Lasso series on Apple TV.
I don't have Apple.
I don't have the Apple TV. I have decided to spend my money elsewhere. I would like to see Ted Lasso at some point. Yes. The Forrest Lasso conversation got us into Ted Lasso, which is always fun.
Not related, by the way.
No, yeah, kind of not. Ricky Ricardo's got his fantasy team, and he's much better than both of us, so follow his advice. Clement Diop, Harrison Awful. I'm going to need your help on the French pronunciation from Montreal. Broguillard?
Bingo.
Okay, not bad. I'm getting better.
ZBG. Just say ZBG.
Yeah, the French ones trip me up. Like, Italian is closer to Spanish, it feels like, at least the way you say things. French always gets me. Graham Zusi, Safir Taider, Alejandro Pozuelo, Valeri,
he's going big
Rusnak,
Montreal because
Lodero, Rui Diaz, and Abobasi. Yeah. That is Ricky Ricardo's lineup.
Okay.
Broguillard.
Yeah, just ZBG. That's what they call him.
Broguillard.
Don't call an Atletico Ottawa match in the CPL.
No.
All of our guys that we covered for the Ottawa Fury, they're there now.
See, if I called their games regularly, I'd get it. But when it's like a random French player that emerges or a French-Canadian player that emerges, I have to switch something in my brain to go French, and it's hard.
Yeah.
Spanish, I can do, and the more I'm talking about Latin players, I can do it, and it feels comfortable, and it's not a problem. French always throws me. Man.
Yeah.
Okay, I think we've got everything. Thanks, y'all, for joining us on the Twitch pitch. Thanks to y'all joining us on the Twitters. Thanks to everybody who listens on the podcast edition. So
and
the
you've
rest
got Facebook Live at 2 o'clock.
That's what I was getting to. I'm on the midday show at 1:20 with Andy and Randy talking Atlanta United. 2 o'clock, Facebook.com/929thegame. Mike and I for Stoppage Time, presented by El Jimador. And then we will have Atlanta United 2 action on ESPN Plus tonight. 7:30 is the kickoff time. We'll see how the weather goes and treats us. Hopefully, fingers crossed, it starts at 7:30-ish and ends at 9:30-ish, and then we get home at a decent time.
Exactly.
We'll see. But we'll be back in the morning to talk about all of it. So, mucha platiel.
Mucha platiel.